This really is a good Brady Bunch look. I just need to probably capture the moment.
Here. Collins? Collins?
Here.
For
Captain. Here. Here.
Lee? Lee?
Here.
Owen? Here. Yusuf Abrams? Here. Bessler?
Here. All right, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
to the
and to the
republic
republic
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Sean Metz. Sean.
So we had a presentation on March 16th of our e-learning plan.
Sean, you might want to turn up your volume just a bit. Or bring the computer closer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's okay.
On March 16th, we had a public presentation on our e-learning plan, which subsequently was approved by the ROE. I'll defer to Dr. Wallace on if you would like me to take you through the presentation again, or if you would like me to do an update based on some of the changes we made as a result of some of the unique circumstances with COVID-19.
I would say let's just do an update. The board's heard
I agree.
there's the legal document that we had to submit to the North Cook ISC, but there really is functionally what we're doing to operate now in the COVID-19 pandemic.
So just briefly an update, if you go to the e-learning section of our website, you can link on information for parents, information for students, and information for staff. That has all been updated. So just some overarching changes that we've made to accommodate the very unique circumstances we're in. We did move to a block schedule format, which is a little bit different than we would normally have done. It was a short time of being out. We're also taking attendance on a weekly basis as a way to ensure that we can keep track of students, to ensure that they're engaged, and also alert us to any situations where we think a student and family may need some extra support. Outside of that, we did make some changes to grading, which can be found on the website as well. We've been given direction by ISBE that students' grades should be held harmless. And so therefore, students' grades were frozen at the end of the third marking. Actually, they were frozen as of April 6th, to be honest with you. We took care of that over the weekend. And then additionally, what we'll do is students' grades can improve from this point on, but they can't drop below where their current grade is. And what that will do is preserve students' GPAs. So as we move forward, whether you're a senior or junior, so on, hopefully we will not see any negative impacts of this very unique situation on the student GPA in the future as they eventually apply to post-secondary institutions.
Now, Sean, real quickly, when you said the grades will be frozen, so that's not going to affect anything. Is it going to be a pass-fail or?
What that means, Aurora, is it's not frozen. Frozen's not the right terminology. It's their base is, so if a student had a B on April 5th, that's their baseline. They can't go below it. They can go above it, but can't go below it.
And there's, just been notified, there's no public discussion. I'm sorry, Sean.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What, add something?
I was actually just going to say, it sounds like I'm having an issue. I'm going to switch off of this laptop onto a different one.
Okay.
So,
And there's no public discussion on this, so we can adjourn this meeting. So we'll adjourn this one and go into our regular schedule. Okay, while you do that. Okay. All right. It's called to order our regular Board of Education meeting for April. We already did our Pledge of Allegiance. Can we do the roll call, Jenny?
Austriaco,
Here.
Collins,
Here.
Boyle,
Here.
Lee,
here.
Owen, here, Yusuf Abramson,
Here.
Bessler.
Here. Again, I don't believe, are there any public comments?
No public comments,
Okay.
none so far.
All right, updates from the superintendent, Ken.
So I have just a few. I want to, Sean, give you a little bit of an overview of how e-learning is going and some of the pivots that we've made. But I want to, and I'm watching for him because he's going to come back in the meeting. I want to commend a number of people. First of all, just very proud and humbled by the professionalism of our staff from the very beginning of this. Our teachers have really jumped into this and led a lot of their own learning. I think that's a function of the culture of coaching that we've got. But in addition to that, support staff, I know Mark and John are with us tonight representing technology. Our technology staff has been tremendous. Not only did we go into this as probably, particularly in a district that's incredibly diverse, probably as connected a district like this as you're going to find in the nation. And that happened from day one, and that's been happening for a decade in this district. And in fact, our technology department has helped provide hotspots to support our elementary students, which has been really, really awesome. Our entire staff, support staff, coming in, volunteering to do food, to do whatever we need, counselors, social workers, entire administrative team. There's just been a whatever needs to be done, tell us and we'll do it. Let me admit Sean. Our principals. High school principal is the hardest job in education, and that's when everything's going great. It really, really is. But our principals have been nothing short of amazing in terms of managing their buildings, leading their staff, connecting with families, connecting with students. They're all doing regular YouTube live events with students, with families. It's been pretty amazing. Ben has become more of a rock star, even because he's, I think, got his drum kit out. And Mike, what instrument? I'm not sure. Mike plays multiple instruments. So he's going to have, there's a competition going on. I'm not sure what Eileen can do, sing or whatever, but it's going to turn into something here. And it's pretty cool though. But I'll tell you what, our families love it. Our kids love it. It's really been a cool thing. And it just reminds us in moments like this that it is that human connection that we really appreciate and miss the most. So our principals have I couldn't be more proud of the 3 principals that we've got. And the connection, the genuine, authentic care and connection for students and for families and for our teachers and really everyone. They keep those buildings together, and that is a big, big job. Brett and Dan with the communications, as you can imagine, the communications, complexity of that right now with everything going on is just, it's every day and it's all day and it's 7 days a week, and it's just trying to stay on point, trying to find that fit line between just enough and not too much. Sean Messmer, who's with us tonight, Giorgio Karas, have really handled a lot of the teaching and learning and adult learning logistics. The adult learning that we've got going on right now, I'm so freaking proud. Jill has sessions with our teachers where 30 or 40 teachers are on. They're sharing, hey, here's what's working. Here's what I'm doing. Let me teach you how to do this tool. And then there's really individualized coaching beyond that for any teacher that really needs. We have a staff that's very, very high efficacy already. But even with that, providing the just-in-time support in the complexity of what we're doing right now, that's really helping make this work as well as it possibly could. Kelly Morsey, who's not with us tonight, but has done a lot in terms of the data management. And really from the beginning, we started triaging the data, trying to identify, okay, what are the things we need to attend to? Obviously, we think first about our seniors and think about the things that we need to do to get them ready for the next phase of their life. And we are really tracking that data on a daily basis. The nice thing is that, we're chipping away at the kids that were in the failing range. That's going to be really one of the big things that we focus on moving forward. Greg Dietz, who's on the call with us tonight, Greg was featured last week in a news story in Ed Week about districts pivoting to virtual HR. What they really don't understand is Greg was literally ahead of the curve on this in the country. He's been doing it for about 4 years. So you talk about being ready for the moment, but they, contacted us and featured Greg. There's nobody who could speak literally with more expertise than Greg in the United States, frankly, on virtual HR and then all the other things that attend to it. Greg's also showing up and helping deliver food. Dave Alm, our Buildings and Grounds Director, we are trying to do everything we can to keep the promises that we made in terms of what we're going to do with our buildings, and we're on really, really on pace to do that. Mary Kalu, oh my God, the glue that kind of holds us all together in many, many ways. She's worked with her elementary partner CFOs to work out the sharing and the partnership on the meal distribution. We are making sure that our families, any family in need, is able to come in and get food both on our campus and then in a partnership with the elementary districts. It's been really remarkable, and it's been used. We are using and distributing a lot of food to families in need in our community. In addition to that, just the management of all the granular, and I mean really, really granular details in the construction. Mary's been handling that from the beginning, so we wouldn't be where we are without her. And then finally, just our students and our families have been really good. We just passed $40,000 on our fundraising today with some really big donations, particularly from Maine East and a couple of their clubs, Maine East Cares, and then their booster clubs. About $17,000, a little over $17,000 a day from those two clubs at Maine East, which pushed us over the $40,000 mark. That money is going to give us the ability to help our families with, some of the household consumable items that they may need if a family, needs diapers, for example, the types of things you wouldn't normally get, in a food kit somewhere. So we're going to have some flexible help there. And then just our municipalities, the mayors, the police departments, the fire chiefs, park districts, hospitals have been really, really good. And I think we're all in this together. Our CTE folks are making PPE right now on our 3D printers to help supply Advocate, the hospital, and we'll continue to do that. And there are a million great stories. Brett mentioned the story that's going to be on tonight about a math teacher at West that had kids write letters to some of the residents in nursing homes. And so I think in this moment, the academics matter, the teaching and learning matters, but it is the reminder of the human side of this equation that matters more than anything. And on that front, I couldn't be more proud of all of our staff and all the work they're doing. And it's all of them. It's a team. We really have a great team here. And it's in times like this you find out just how good your team really is. And we have a heck of a team. So that's all I have for the moment. But I'm just very, very proud of everybody and the work that we're doing.
I would just like to echo that, everything that Ken just said, and especially commend Ken for how you've handled and managed this with your team, as you just really laid out for all of us. Also, I've spent a lot of time talking to Ken, Brett, and Jenny this week to make this virtual board meeting happen this weekend. I'm thankful to all of you for your adaptability and flexibility in joining us and making it work in short order. And what Ken didn't mention that Brett and he pulled together in short order, I was able to attend as well, is a community of all those leaders, municipality leaders, President of Lutheran General, President of Children's Hospital, at Children's Hospital, and the Chief Medical Officer, and all of these leaders, almost 30 people, and at our invitation, at Ken's invitation, and Brett pulled it together in short order and really led and showed what a great community we have, not only within this call, but within all our municipalities that we serve in District 7. So I just want to thank you all as well.
Also, Ken, quickly, do we have a lot of students has a food distribution, and also
Yes.
if so, how is like a traffic chaos? Are the kids or parents are all coming once? Is it drive-through picking up the food, or how is it at work?
It's drive-through, and actually, students are driving through, families are driving through, and we're actually bringing the bags out to the car, so they don't even have to get out of the car. It's changed a little bit from the very first days that we were doing it. We are also doing some delivery. We've got both homeless students and some other students in need whose families have a difficult time with transportation. So we're working out logistics to do that. And that's one of, I mentioned our support staff. So the principal, collecting names of support staff that will help with distribution. We're obviously trying to do that in as safe a way as possible, but we are not going to, again, what I said, Jen, about just the ethos of everyone, which is tell us what we need to do, tell us how we can help. And it's really been about that. So we'll continue to do that. And I think on all the fronts.
And I too commend principals of all your Instagram account influencer status. You've done a nice job really to the kids through social media. So thank you for that as well. Are there any updates from any other board members? They're all influencers. No other. Hey, construction update, Mary.
So in your packet is a new format for the construction update since we've officially started construction. You'll be seeing this update every month with 3 sections: neighbor relations, the project summary, and then some photos. As we go project summary, we finished spring break abatement. We're starting demolition work at Main South and Main West. So you'll see some beautiful demo photos in your packet. And then we are this week advancing some abatement work because our goal is not to advance the construction project, but to keep up with all of the delays that are inevitably going to occur over the next couple of weeks and months. We had a section that we never anticipated in the construction project, which is the COVID-19 impacts. We know we're going to have labor and material shortage, but right now our focus has been providing a safe working environment. So we have started a temperature screening, very much what the healthcare environments are doing, where every morning from 6:30 to 9:30, we have an ambulance technician who is in a storage trailer by the Pepper trailer, and everyone before they're allowed to come onto the construction site or into the district building has their temperature taken. It's a pass-fail. If you pass, you get to go in. If you fail, we invite you to go home and self-quarantine. So that has been working well. The construction budget, you can see, is at about $79 million so far of awards just in construction. Tonight, you'll see the recommendation to award the flooring and carpet. And then we are having a virtual bid opening on April 16th for ceramic tile, moving, plumbing, and roofing. We are also doing virtual phase 2 design. So we begin the virtual meetings for phase 2 design on April 15th at Main East, and we will start to have all of those meetings virtually. And then in your packet finally is some pictures. It's just demo and the construction trailers. As things go on, the photos will get better. I'll take any questions that anybody has on any of the construction updates.
Oh, Mary, real quickly, in terms of the schedule, because of what's going on, obviously they are more available to do a lot more work, but I know one work builds up on another, so you can't really rush it. But with what's going on and they have available time to really work on this because the students are not in school, does that move up our timeline, or we're still on that regular timeline?
So we are anticipating that at some point we are going to see a labor shortage, either through a shutdown, through sickness, through something. So, and we are practicing social distancing on the construction site. So that makes what we're doing a little bit less efficient because we know that there are certain tasks that we will do, not so much a demo, but in finishing, in terms of if you're putting up and hanging a pane of glass, that is a 2-person job and the glass is only 3 feet wide. You're not going to be able to stand 6 feet apart. So that's an instance where we would give you PPE and they would perform the task. But our goal is really not to accelerate, but right now we're getting into doing some things advanced of where we would do them, so that when we get the material and labor delays, we have the room in the schedule to still finish phase 1 to open school in August. So it's an acceleration and anticipation of those.
Right, which makes it difficult to really anticipate what the future is going to look like with construction. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mary?
So Mary, for safety of everyone in that construction field, if there's employees more than 10 people coming together, there is a definitely social distance and it's in control by the Pepper company leaders, correct?
Correct. And I should also point out that we have a dedicated sanitation person on site for the construction project, and the person's sole job is to go around and sanitize. But yes, we are practicing social distancing whenever and wherever possible on the construction site, as well as the temperature checks to provide the safest environment on the construction project.
Great to know. Thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else for Mary on that? All right. Monthly status of
In
finances.
your board packet is the February financial report. There's nothing unusual for February. Again, the debt service fund, you've seen that anomaly every month in terms of revenue and expenditures spiking higher. That is because we did the advanced refunding and a portion of the debt to save the taxpayers some interest, and we had to record that refunding as both a revenue and an expenditure. The net had no impact on the fund, but you'll see some anomaly in terms of revenue and expenditures. I think that as we get towards the end of the year, our finances may take on a slightly different tune. We're not sure if tax revenues will come in the way that they're scheduled to come in. We're not sure. We know that we're not incurring some of the expenditures that we would normally occur. So I think that we may have a slightly different financial forecast for the board for the close of this year. And then certainly next year, we'll see some major impacts because no one is talking about the state budget because we've got much more important things to talk to, but inevitably that state budget will trickle down into what is going to happen for the district financially next year. I'll entertain any questions anybody has on the February financial report.
All right. Instructional services, Sean, again. You're still muted.
You gotta unmute.
Long way to go for no reporting. Sorry about that. I should be better.
Very good. Oh, good. Oh, good. So any other instructional services?
No report at this time.
Okay, great. All right, FOIA requests, Ken?
We have 5 this month and they've all been responded to.
Okay, do I have a motion on the consent agenda, numbers 6, 8 through F?
So moved.
A
Second.
second.
Ginny, you're good on that?
Paul, it's A through G.
Oh, okay, let me, do I have a motion on item 6, consent agenda, A through G?
So moved.
A second.
Can I, can I pull off 6A? Sure, or so 6B through,
Okay, let's do a motion on 6A.
okay. Who's
So
moving?
moved.
Okay.
A second.
The roll?
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
So I on A1 and I'm abstaining from A2 and A3.
okay. Owen,
I on A1, abstain on A2 and A3.
and Bessler.
Aye. Okay, now do I have a motion on consent agenda items 6B through G?
So moved.
Take the roll.
You repeat that?
Items 6A through G.
So Linda, you moved it?
Yes.
I seconded it. Okay, got that. Okay, ready? Yusuf
Carla, I'm
Abramson.
not sure if you're trying to say something because we cannot hear you. Just,
And also it's 6B through G, I think,
B through
was the motion, B through G.
Right.
Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay.
all right.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion on number 7, approval of e-learning program?
So moved.
I'll make sure.
Second.
And it's all discussed in the public hearing right before. We've had full publications on that or communications. Any questions for Sean or any additional input, Sean?
This is just our official approval of the e-learning.
Let me take that. Jenny, you can take the roll.
Ready?
Yes.
You cut out.
Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes, I
Can you
can
hear
now.
me okay?
It had cut out.
Okay. It froze. Okay.
Collins?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson?
Aye.
Austriaco?
Aye.
Coyle?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Did you hear me? Okay.
Jenny, can you hear? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, did you call my name?
No. You mean on the last one? Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay, then, and that Mr. Froze, aye.
Right, yes, I caught that. But we're on 8 now, right? Contracts?
Yes, so
Okay.
we're, do we want to take these, we'll take them one by one. Do I have a motion on items 8A?
So moved.
Yeah.
Second, Carla.
Okay,
Okay.
so do we want to have any discussion around this, the wide area network internet services? And note that we have Mr. Ordonez on here.
Mark, you want to give a quick overview?
Yeah. So we are not renewing exactly, but we are signing up for Windstream for our secondary network connections around the district again. E-rate will cover about 50% of these expenses. The rate that we're getting is cheaper than our current 3-year agreement, and as soon as network hardware is set up, which is affected by COVID-19 right now, they'll be able to switch us over to the new contract at the lower rate but higher.
That'll make these meetings even better. Right? Okay. Any other questions? Think about it.
Austriaco?
Aye.
Coyle?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Yusuf
Aye.
Abramson? Collins?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye. All right, so I have a motion on 8B.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this is on HBK Engineering Locate Services. Mark,
We'll let Mr. Urbanski take this one over.
oh, okay.
Hi, so this is for services to locate our fiber that's located between all of our buildings. Currently, we are doing that in-house. The original plan when we laid out our fiber was to get this contracted out to an engineering company. And this is the first time we've been able to find a company to actually do the work for us.
Any questions? Okay, no. Jenny?
Austriaco?
Aye.
Coyle?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion on 8C, adjustment to Quest Food Service Agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary?
So normally we have a rental agreement where Quest pays us the rental fee and then runs our cafeteria program, and they generate the revenue and pay all of the bills associated with this. So we're doing this amendment for the food that we're providing to students each week, because now that is the only food that Quest is providing, and they're no longer getting revenue from our cafeterias. So they're only charging us for their actual labor and food cost, and then a small administrative fee for billing and setting everything up. This amendment would cover that cost. I should point out that we've also applied and been accepted into a summer seamless meal program, a partial reimbursement on the meals served to anyone under the age of 18. And we expect that about 50% of this will come in the form of a reimbursement. And we just learned like 2 days ago, or even maybe this morning, that there are some additional Title I funds that may be able to apply to the other portion. So we may, at the end of the day, end up being able to provide these meals to students at no additional cost to the taxpayers.
That'd be
Any
great.
questions? I know. Any questions for Mary on that?
It's good to know. At the same time, Mary, are we saving money in this food expenses despite the situation these days?
No, because as I pointed out, Quest is on a rental agreement where all of that revenue and expenditures is theirs. They pay us a fee for the use of our kitchen so that they can generate that revenue. I would imagine that, we will have another amendment once we get time to figure that out in terms of what that agreement looks like. Is there a proration on that rental because they were not able to generate any revenue from our services for a portion of the year.
Okay.
So Mayor, real quickly, the amendment on this one is only while COVID-19 is going on, and then once we go
Correct.
back
We
to normal.
apply for the window through the end of May. Should something happen over the summer that we would agree to apply the meals, we could extend both this amendment and our participation in the Seamless Summer Program. That is the name of it. They've allowed and opened that program up to any time that there is a prolonged school closure, which is why we qualify now.
Got it.
Just to clarify, what's the name of the program again? Seamless?
Seamless Summer Meals Program.
Thanks.
Did that 3 times fast. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, Jenny?
Yusuf Abramson?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Lee? Lee?
I
Coyle?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Austriaco?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion on 8, bid package 21, carpet and resilient flooring?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mary.
So as the name implies, this is the carpet and flooring material. And before you get so excited about that variance, we should point out that we changed the tile type in the classrooms. So we were initially thought we would go with a luxury vinyl tile, which is a maintenance-free tile. But then we saw that it might have some problem with some of the casters we were using in our furniture. So rather than installing that flooring and having to wax the no wax maintenance-free product, we elected to go with what's called VCT, vinyl composite tile in the classrooms. That's the same tile that we have in the classrooms and hallways now. It is a waxed product that is a very durable product because of the wax. If the wax gets damaged, strip it down and re-wax it. We felt that it was a more appropriate product. It is a cheaper product because what we didn't want to do is pay the upfront higher cost for the maintenance-free product and then end up having to wax it anyway, because we felt that just was not a good decision. The tile we've been using for years as our samples in the hall and holding up very well in our hallways. But the same company won all 3 bids for Maine East, Maine South, and Maine West.
Which was somewhat unique in this bidding process for all of construction, as we know from the last meeting, correct?
Correct. I would say there were less than half of the contractors where they were low bid for all 3 schools. They're a very large flooring company. They've been scope review. We know that they can handle a project this size.
Any other questions from?
Paula, I apologize, but my sound cut out with the motion and the second, so I don't know who did that.
I think Aurora did the
I
motion
moved.
and Carla did the second.
Okay, perfect.
Well, did I? I don't think I did on this one.
On this one? Do you know who did the second? Was it Terry?
Did Linda?
Might have been me. I think it was me.
I think it was Linda.
Linda beat me. She got it first.
She did good.
Great. I think that was a test by Ginny.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got that straight. We can take that. If there's no other questions? Good, Jenny.
Coyle,
Aye.
Austriaco? Owen?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Lee? Lee?
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion on 8E Pepper contract value accounting adjustment?
So we move.
Second.
Mary?
So this isn't quite a change order, hence the name, contract value accounting adjustment, a name we came up with our attorneys. It simply shows the value of all of these contracts that we are assigning to Pepper and how much in terms of overall contract value Pepper has now under their contract. We separated it into 5 accounting adjustments. Number 1 is for bid package 0 that the board approved at March 2nd. Accounting adjustment 2 are for the prime trade contracts that were approved March 16th. Accounting adjustment 3 is in bid package 0. There was a pre-purchase of both mechanical and electrical equipment, but in bid package 1, then those contracts were assigned to the mechanical and electrical contractors that won. So now we do a deduct for the contract value of those because the bids for mechanical and electrical included all of that equipment. 4 is, as we discussed in the buildings at the last board meeting, which wasn't the grounds, but a special board meeting, we are breaking the contingency bucket into 3 areas because we know we're going to spend it. It's the scope and unassigned allowances, trade-specific allowances, and the construction contingency. We are putting all that money into the Pepper contract so that Pepper can have a running drawdown of those areas. You'll see later on when we have the change order and discretionary spending resolution that the only way to draw down any dollars in those buckets will be through a change order that will be reported to the board. And then finally, the accounting adjustment number 5 is for the carpeting and resilient flooring that the board just approved. So the value of that contract. Every time we award contracts, there will be a pot as we start paying these prime contractors and Pepper, there will be a deduct to the Pepper contract value.
Yes, and as you stated, we had a special board meeting on March 16th where all of this was gone through in extreme detail.
Yes.
Mary, I think if I remember also, Pepper is under budget at this point so far with what you submitted, correct?
Correct. When you take a look at the dollar value of the bids to the dollar value that we projected on those bids, we are currently running under budget.
Right.
Great job.
It is a great job. Okay, any other questions on the contract adjustment? Okay, Jenny?
Yusuf Abramson?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Coyle?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Austriaco?
Aye.
Collins? Bessler?
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion on number 9, summer hours for special education and ESL department chairs?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Sean?
So this is something we approve each year. The extra hours are for when we have students move in who need attention to IEPs, for students who move in who are EL students who need access testing for placement purposes. So this is routine. We do it every year. We don't know what it will quite look like yet this year with things to come this summer. But this is a typical yearly approval.
And this would be adjusted accordingly. It'd still spend the same amount of hours, but it would be adjusted accordingly if we're still in quarantine, correct?
Yes, will be needed to do those things. So for example, if we need to test students in particular, we'll be taking guidance from ISBE on how to do that if we are in a scenario where we're still social distancing.
So this motion is asking for specific number of hours. The hours wouldn't change, just the methodology might change?
Correct.
All right, any other questions? Comments? Okay. Any?
Collins?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson?
Aye.
Owen?
Mute.
Aye. Coyle,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion for number 10? Communication arts requirement for seniors.
Second.
So what we're asking for on this, the communication arts requirement is a District 207 graduation requirement. And so if you look at the memo, we have about 35 seniors who are taking that now in their last quarter of high school. Mentioned earlier, ISBE has given some direction related to holding students harmless. And so what we're suggesting is that we grant these individuals the credit, the communication to arts credit with a no grade to ensure that we protect their graduation status.
Any questions on that?
So Sean, these are for kids who are enrolled in it but didn't start it because of this quarantine, correct? But they need it to graduate.
That's correct.
Okay.
They were literally in class for 5 days
Okay.
prior to the start of our quarantine.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Collins,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Bess.
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion for number 11, use of facilities?
Second.
So moved.
And Mike, this is something we do every year.
Yes, this is the same request we do every year. Obviously, we're going to have to play this one by ear in terms of how we're all living at that point in time. But if things work well, then I think everybody will be happy to celebrate. So we will welcome them.
Yes, we're hoping to have that, right? All right. Any questions, comments? All right. Jenny.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Lee, Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. All right, my motion for number 12, resolution regarding approval of discretionary spending and change orders related to capital projects.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Mary?
Okay, there are two, so I'll take them and explain them separately. Discretionary spending are items that we can spend money on. What would they be? Construction, fencing, roll-off dumpster. They're avoid that are needed for the construction project that we're not assigned to any individual contract. And you don't assign them to a contract so that you can avoid a 10% markup for overhead and insurance fees from a contractor. So this will, in the long run, save us money. But this allows us to enter into those discretionary spending, and 50,000 is chosen because that's the bid limit. So if we were to have to purchase some discretionary spending above that, we are required to bid it. So we can enter into those contracts. We would bring them to the board after the fact, show them to the board, tell you which one of the 3 contingency buckets they were spent in, but then we would not have to wait a month before implementing that contract. The change orders are those items that come up that are a contract change to an existing prime trade contractor's contract. For instance, this week we found out that we may not be able to get the glazed tile that runs on the bottom of the masonry walls at Main West and D Wing. So if we can't get the tile, we looked at what are our other options, and we may be able to get wire mold. Wire mold is that little base that you see on a lot of the walls in schools, that it's a trim piece. So in your home, you may have wood at the bottom of your walls. In schools, we put rubber because we're waxing and washing the floors quite frequently. That would be a change order because we would be pulling the glazed tile out of the masonry contract and getting a credit for that. And we would be awarding the rubber molding to the carpeting and resilient flooring contract. change orders, we're asking for the discretion to approve those change orders up to a $200,000 limit. $200,000 is a lot of money. However, this is an $85 million summer one construction project. So as a percentage of that, it is not a big dollar amount. When we talked at the special board meeting, we were talking 100,000 and thought that was a little low, and then COVID-19 happened. So we could realistically be in a situation where it is July and the only way to finish the construction project to open school in August because of delays in material and labor might be for us to run 2 shifts. And having the latitude to incur that additional expenditure, again, it would be reported to the board. We will have a very detailed financial report to the board on every dollar in this construction project is spent, but it enables us to start implementing that contract before the next board meeting. This is a fairly standard resolution that the attorneys recommended for construction projects our size.
Mary, I have a question. We spoke about it at the March 16th meeting, I think. But Ken would be okay.
So this resolution gives the superintendent the authority to sign off on that discretionary spending below 50,000 or change orders up to 200,000. It does not negate the fact that we still have to complete the change order form. The change order form, in order to be developed, has all of the backup and supporting material from the prime trade contractor. And that would be vetted by Pepper, then vetted by Dave Olm and myself, and then finally given to Ken with a recommendation.
Okay, and then so it would be just done at the first line of approval. I mean,
no,
Ken would see it. Okay.
Through 3 approvals process, and then we report all of this to the board. So you would see change order 1, change order 2, you would get a tracking of every change order. We're still deciding. We think probably the best thing to do would be to have it at the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting monthly, but also in a regular Friday communication to the board, so that they would summary in a very.
I like that idea of having it in the regular communication on Fridays. In fact, if you could do that, that would be wonderful.
So again, Mary, just for clarification, it authorizes Ken to sign into a contract at 50,000 or under, up to a total of $200,000, but not a contract of $200,000. So it's broken down into 50,000 max per contract with a limit of $200,000.
Yeah. So the discretionary spending limit. So for items that there is no existing prime trade contract, so fencing, dumpster roll-off, street sweeping, all of those stuff that we have to buy as part of the construction project, but we've not awarded a bid for. That's discretionary spending. The discretionary spending would be up to 50,000. 50,000 is the bid threshold. Okay. So if we were to buy construction fencing and all 3 quotes came in above that 50,000, we would then bid it, and the board is the only entity that can award the bid. The other is an actual change order. So let's say that the fire protection wall needs to be built 5 feet bigger. And then we have to pay the mason because that was not in the bid contract. And that produces a change order based on material and labor and overhead that is $90,000. That change order would, all of that backup would go through Pepper. Pepper would prepare the change order, review it with myself and Dave Olm. We would present that to Ken for approval. And then that would be reporting. So that's a change order, which is a change in the prime trade agreements that we've already awarded.
Thanks for clarifying that.
At the March 16th meeting, we talked about a lot. You're right to arrive at that $50,000 discretionary. And we agreed on that. The subsequent, this $200,000 for change orders came from a March 26th memo and a recommendation from additional sources. Is that correct?
Correct, because we thought that now with COVID-19, there are more unknowns. There will likely be some wholesale materials that we need to change because that material is unavailable. So we know that there is now a set of circumstances that was different. Where before we were comfortable with the 100,000. Now we've got this whole nother layer of unknown in this construction project for us to deal with. So we thought having the flexibility to go a little bit higher, since we still have all the reporting tools in place, was something that was probably prudent for the district to do.
And I also do want to mention that Ken is actually, as the person who'd be authorizing this, he does have some standards that he would be applying to the situation. So he would have his own questions possibly about it. And then we'd be getting notified every week.
Right.
So if there were things coming up, I mean, I think there's quite a few
Yeah.
Correct. The other
It's
thing
just, it's just double the amount. I'm not saying it's not worth it. It's just double the amount. So I wanted to pause and
I agree.
not discussed at the March 16th special board meeting. It was something that came subsequent due to COVID and all that we're dealing with.
The other thing that I should point out in the resolution is the authority only exists to spend that money within that contingency buckets that we've already pointed out. So the authority only expends to the entire limit of the budget for the construction project. There is zero authorization to go above that budgeted threshold.
That's a good point.
And in the event that we get in one of these situations, it's going to be something that we will, give the board a ton of detail on and a lot of logic and reason behind it. And probably only after having exhausted, all the possibilities that we have. Mary had a really good example, but you can just imagine even in your homes, things that you normally could get now are hard to get in some cases. Same thing just applies here, just on a larger scale. So there may be some cases where we simply have to look for a second or a third option and still stay within the parameters of what we're trying to do, with the large building project. So we will wear you out with detail if we come to this. Let's hope that we don't come to this and have to utilize this.
Okay, and then we talked about it before, and you just reiterated that we're going to have weekly updates, so we'll have even more communication on it consistently, especially with us all being distant. Okay, any other questions, Mary, or comments regarding this?
Sounds good.
Okay, all right, Jenny?
Coyle?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Austriac?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye. All right, the next informational is item 13, the calendar items. Obviously, this is all contingent on what progresses in our world, but I think we should definitely plan on April 20th, since the stay-at-home order is in effect as of now until April 30th, that those meetings take place virtually as well through Zoom. Correct? We'll do that.
Yes.
Did you want to say anything else? And May 4th through the 8th, we will so appreciate our teachers, even more so, because I think everyone in our countries in the world is realizing just how valuable our teachers are. So that will continue in whatever shape or form we are able to do so. Anything else we want to comment on? We have not officially decided anything regarding graduation.
So I would like to talk a little bit about that. Obviously, that's a top of mind issue right now. We have had, obviously, as you can imagine, a lot of internal conversations administratively on this topic, on things like prom. We have not made official calls, but I think this week we're going to talk a little bit more about it. What we've tried to do is be relatively conservative and stay in line with the calls that the governor has made. So, for example, the governor right now has schools doing remote learning through the end of April. The fact is, and this isn't a surprise to our families or to our students, it's unlikely that we're coming back in May. We just are reluctant to make calls, for example, to cancel the graduations, even though it's highly unlikely that we would have them. There's going to come a point, though, sooner rather than later, where we're going to have to begin, probably doing some of those kind of things. There are some districts who are doing some planning now for some alternative things that might happen in the summer. But even that is not without risk. And one of the districts that I spoke to the other day, they're a large district, and they could have a gathering of several thousand kids in June or July. Well, those are exactly the types of conditions, when this thing dies down, that would be the types of things actually we should be avoiding, so as not to have sort of a bounce back. So it's a really complicated issue, but we will, again, probably be bringing something to the board on some of these items, coming up soon. And I actually anticipate the governor will not wait until the end of April to make his next call. I would expect that maybe here in a week or two, we will actually have a longer call. States around us have already made calls for the entire year. I think that's what will be coming next.
Ken, do we know if any other school confirmed that they are canceling their graduation in our surrounding neighborhood school districts?
I can't. I'm sure there have, Jen. I know that they're all talking about it, and I know that some have made some contingency plans for if we're not able to. I don't know that anybody have made a public announcement, but I expect probably in the next week or two that that's going to start happening. And then when it starts happening, people will do it. Here's what I will tell you, though. We're committed minimally on the graduations to try to run at least a virtual graduation ceremony so that we would acknowledge and recognize our students and make sure that we do everything we can to honor the kids that are going to be graduating this year. The prom's a little trickier, and those are things that, in some of the messages we've sent out, I know that I've sent out, the principals have sent out, we've actually been advising people don't spend money on prom things right now if you haven't already. I just think that's, the prudent course of action. But I would expect, Jen, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, people have to make a call. And in fact, some of the contracts have sort of drop dead dates on them if you've reserved things. So as we look at those a little bit more closely, if we get within a few days of those and we don't know, we're probably, I would predict that our call will be to just cut those contracts where we can, because it's just an unlikely scenario that we'll be able to even do a prom in May.
And all the colleges have really eliminated them or are going to try to do them virtual. They've announced it more than the high schools, but I think high schools were soon.
And then the one other piece of information, we are not going to count. This Friday is not going to be an attendance day. We're going to give everyone the 3-day weekend that was already built into the calendar as planned. We think that our last student day will be about mid-May, and then actually what we're going to do is we're going to begin planning in May as if we were going to have to do this next year. I mean, we're not going to wait. We're going to look at all the things that we've just learned and say, imagine if you had to teach biology next year in a virtual setting. We're going to begin preparing. This year we couldn't have anticipated, but we can't say the same about next year. So we've already spoken as a cabinet team. I actually spoke to Julia Hayden today. She may be watching the live stream now. She agrees with this assessment. Julia's been a tremendous partner through all of this, as has our Teachers Association. And we really, really appreciate that. But I think that we're in agreement that we need to take everything we've just learned. And frankly, our experience is, I would say, on the much, much better end of experiences that people are having out there, and take that and try to do better next year. Because I think there's plenty of modeling, and you guys are all aware of it, that would suggest that next year it will be tricky running all school. I mean, the things that's emerging now will be the serum testing, which could only tell us, for example, who had it and who has antibodies that might be safe to go out in a social setting. That's not going to be everybody. And so what does that look like if half of your staff is and half of your staff isn't, or half your students are and half aren't? What does that look like? And so we have to solve for those. Those are the probabilities that we have to solve for. So we're committed to continue learning and doing whatever it takes between now and next year to be ready for that.
And we're committed to communicating all of these decisions to our families.
Yeah. Yes, yes. That's why I'm saying them tonight at a public meeting. And we just, again, haven't made official calls other than the fine arts events. But I think we're getting closer and closer to probably having to make some of those calls.
So Cal is, real quickly, what is the witching hour for us?
For making the calls?
For making the calls.
Obviously, the best scenario, Aurora, is if we can do anything in concert with the governor saying school is done. We're not coming back in May, which again, other states have done. California's done it. Indiana has done it, and I think there are another handful of other states that have done it. They've done it because of all the probability tables that we can all look at, none of which show that there's really any scenario that we probably are coming back in May. But again, there's a minimal risk if you would call something now, and which we have contracts for a lot of this stuff, and you would call it in the unlikely event that something would change that we can't predict today, and we've got a green light to come back to school in May. Again, I understand saying that out loud, how unlikely that is, but we're trying to be conservative with making those calls. Obviously, I'd say by the end of the month, but by then the governor's going to have made calls. I think what the prudent thing to do is, Aurora, is we need to start designing what a virtual graduation would look like.
Right.
Perhaps even a virtual prom, if such a thing exists. If there isn't, we'll invent one.
Right. Sounds good. Thanks.
These kids are going to be strong, as I said, as a mother of a graduating college senior and a high school senior. They're going to be resilient and strong leaders of our future because they're adapting and they're going to appreciate everything in their future. So we appreciate the thoughtful consideration being put into every decision around all these things that impact our seniors.
I have a message going out to our families and staff tomorrow, and I just reminded them that, we've been here before. East almost didn't get built during the Great Depression. During World War II, our kids went out and sold war bonds in 2 weeks to buy a C-54 to donate to the Army. This will be one of those things that in the annals of not just District 207, but in the annals of history, the kids today living through this will be, significant. And I think that's really something we have to, keep a perspective in. And there is a ton of really good learning, I think, attached to this as well. So that's pretty much everything on that. And we'll as we know something, you will know something.
Okay. There's been there was no public comments. Jenny, is there any comment last?
No, still none.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion for us to open a closed session for the purposes of review of closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance of specific employees, probable imminent or pending litigation, and collective negotiating matters?
So we move.
Second.
Austriaco?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Coyle?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Aye. Bessler?
Aye. Okay. And you want us just to all mute for?
Yes. We're the live stream will stop in just a minute. I'm just getting confirmation of that.
Jen, if you're typing, maybe mute yourself for now. I don't know.
No, I'm not typing.
It just sounds a little bit distracting. Okay.
We are on the
No, that's
YouTube
okay.
live now.
Okay, we're on YouTube
Okay.
right now.
Do I have a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
Second, Jerry.
Okay, thank you. Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Coyle, Lee,
Aye.
Owen, I, Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Okay, I just want to share that public comment that we received from Julia Hayden, our president of the the Teachers Association. And this is verbatim. For the record, I couldn't be more appreciative of the supportive way that Ken, Sean, and the rest of the administration have worked with us navigating the current situation.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you, Julia.
It's a nice comment.
Yeah, very nice. Very
Thank you
nice.
for all the great work that you're all doing. Great.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, teachers.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion on number 17, A through G, personnel action?
So moved.
Second.
Collins,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Owen, I, Bessler.
Okay, do I have a motion on 18? Ken, I didn't ask you this. Do you want to take these individually or collect together?
I'll defer to Greg. I think we can do them collectively.
Yeah, we can do them all together.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So do I have a motion on number 18, staffing?
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, this is just the routine non-renewals. And those teachers that are being awarded tenure and moving into another stage of their probationary status, along with any other resignations that we may have received and retirement letters. So all of these things together.
Great. Any questions?
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
I, Lee,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. 19, there's no other items. Do I have a motion for approval of closed session minutes from our March 2nd, 2020 Board of Education meeting?
So we move.
Second.
Ready?
Yes.
Collins,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. You guys hear me? Aye. Okay. Do I have a motion to
I
adjourn?
make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you all for your flexibility and your great work and partner.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Paula.
Good job, guys.
Thank you all. Great job.
Great job.
Be healthy.